It can be really hard to tell if you have HPV because most of the time it's asymptomatic and you don't even know that you have it unless you get a pap smear. My name is Adrienne. I'm the ONI nutritionist. I'm a holistic nutritionist that helps women heal the root causes of recurring vaginal infections like HPV because I was diagnosed with high-risk HPV cervical dysplasia over 20 years ago, and I learned how to heal my once high-risk HPV infection, and my last 5 pap smears have come back consistently normal. I was diagnosed with high-risk cervical dysplasia over 20 years ago now in my early 20s. And one of the biggest signs that I had HPV was abnormal bleeding during sex and spotting in between periods. That's how I knew something was wrong because otherwise I couldn't feel it. I didn't have any pain. I didn't have any discomfort. I just had this abnormal bleeding. So of course, I went to get it checked out. I got a pap smear and sure enough, it came back positive for HPV, the cervical dysplasia type of HPV, which can be a very scary diagnosis because this is the one that most commonly leads to cervical cancer. It doesn't always happen, but it can. And the doctors certainly don't give you a lot of information other than just sending you home and waiting and seeing. In the years following my HPV diagnosis, I went through the roller coaster of abnormal, normal pap smears. I've had multiple colposcopies and I even had the LEEP procedure. And I'm not even sure if the LEEP procedure helped me clear some of the abnormal cells on my cervix because I was still getting abnormal pap smears even after the procedure. It wasn't until I started learning how to manage my once recurring herpes outbreaks, because I also live with genital herpes, HSV2. It wasn't until I started changing my diet and my lifestyle to manage my herpes outbreaks did my pap smears start coming back consistently normal. Which makes sense because both herpes and HPV are viruses, very different viruses, but they're both viruses that depend on the health of my immune system. But when I started making the changes with my diet, with my lifestyle, taking specific supplements with time, patience, and consistency, because it took a couple of years, my pap smears started coming back consistently normal. Which means that my once high-risk cervical dysplasia is no longer at risk of developing into cervical cancer. And the infection has cleared. But I still have HPV because there's no cure for HPV, but the infection is no longer active. So if you're living with HPV, whether you're newly diagnosed or you've been living with it for years, let this be a good news story for you that there is hope, that it is possible for you to heal your HPV infection. All it takes is learning about it, and this is where I can help you with my HPV healing guide. It's an online downloadable resource that gives you all of the tools to learn exactly what to do with your diet, what specific supplements to take, and lifestyle practices to follow to help you learn how to heal your HPV infection just like I did. If you are struggling with your HPV diagnosis, take your power back with my HPV healing guide. Click the link in my bio to sign up, and if you need personal support, book a one-on-one call with me while you're